special episode of Coast to Coast Connections. We're going all the way to Nova Scotia today with this episode. Coming to you, as ever, from the Tsunemu First Nation here in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Iseka, welcome. Our guest today has been to hell and back and is not bitter. The only bitterness comes a little bit in the chocolate that he makes. He's actually better. His family has survived utter devastation from the war in Syria, and they made their way from Damascus to Antigonish, Nova Scotia, quite a circuitous route, and found a very peaceful and kind reception in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And today, as we know, the Nova Scotians and those in the Maritimes are really suffering with Hurricane Fiona. So today we're here to tell this amazing story of redemption and recovery and help to share the good news of what you can do to support those people in Nova Scotia and the Maritimes today. It's my great pleasure to welcome Tarek Hadhad, the CEO of Peace by Chocolate. Welcome, Tarek.
Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. This is an absolute honor, and for giving me this platform to share our story with the world.
Absolutely. And I must say that your family story is absolutely riveting. And not many people have their family story put into a book, Peace by Chocolate, and subsequently made into a movie as well. There are so many angles to your family story. It's going to be very difficult to capture that in 30 minutes today, but we're going to do our best. So from 4 million, 2.7 million people in Damascus to about 4,000 people in Antigonish. That's quite an adjustment. But tell us a little bit, Tarek, about your life in Damascus, the peaceful, productive lives that you and your family were living before the war struck. Tell us about your 10-story house and your chocolate factory.
We were living a life of dreams. We were living a stable life considerably. Our family built a very happy future and set goals for everyone, for me and my siblings after we were born. I remember from Damascus living with my entire family in one building with my grandmother and my cousins and my aunts and my uncles, and having supper every Saturday at a giant room in my grandmother's house. Syria did not mean war to us. Syria did not mean refugees to us. Syria did not mean where people are just killed because they are civilians. Syria meant to us much more than that before the war started in 2012. And to be honest, we have built like a chocolate empire from scratch, as my father graduated as a civil engineer. He didn't know anything about chocolate before 1986. He didn't know even what entrepreneurship was like. He was following the path like everyone else in Damascus. You know that 99% of Syrian mothers, they want their kids to become physicians, and 1% of them, they want them to be engineers. So my dad was from the 99%. He wanted to become, a civil engineer, and he was really excited about the idea of graduating and then going and following the path that my grandmother wanted him to do. But then he realized that there is much more to life than just following a path that has been drawn to you. And he realized that entrepreneurship can be an outside of the box, like a new creativity and innovation vehicle that he can translate something unique and remarkable into the lives of my family and into the neighborhood. And at that time, there was not a lot of chocolate companies outside, of Damascus, and he really realized that he can create something unique and special. But although he didn't know how to make 2 fried eggs in the kitchen. He was pretty much, a hands-on man, but he also did not realize how hard it was to create something unique. So he spent 3 months working and going to the library, picking up books and reading recipes and creating something new. And it was pretty heartwarming, to learn the stories of the early days, how my father was just using spatulas in the home kitchen, leaving chocolate everywhere on the floor and the side doors. And my grandmother was fed up with him, so she asked him to leave the home kitchen. At that time, he was not married to my mom, and he didn't know her. And then, my mother joined his mission to spread happiness via chocolate. My dad used to say that everyone eats chocolate will be happy. No one eats chocolate will ever be sad. Who doesn't want to be happy? Who doesn't want to join this mission? Who doesn't want to really, create something that can contribute to people's lives in a positive way? In 2006, the factory that my father started in the home kitchen back in 1986, expanded to become the second largest chocolate manufacturing facility in the entire region. And it was exporting everywhere outside of Damascus. Imagine shipping chocolate from Damascus to Belgium. That's exactly what our company in Damascus was doing. Although I was not involved in the business at that time, I was studying to become a doctor. My siblings were all studying to be pharmacists and dentists, and they all followed different paths in life than just the entrepreneurial journey that my father really built. But we have realized that we are part of something big, part of something that is contributing to the community. The reason why we were feeling this, we were feeling this way is because the company was supporting those who were less fortunate in the community. And we were using our business as a platform to help those who were living under poverty lines, those outside of Damascus that did not have centers for cancer and child thalassemia and all kind of primary and secondary healthcare centers and hospitals and schools and roads and electricity. And we were trying to be there for the communities who were less fortunate than us being born in Damascus and having that road of success. And I think, we started on that mission as a family to create a bigger picture of what business really is and how business can transform communities and be there at service of others. That's why when the war started, we did not stop the factory when the war started. My father used to say that the country needs chocolate and people need to be happy. At the time of war, people still need to eat chocolate. And that's why it kept operating until it was bombed by the end of 2012 in Damascus.
Utter devastation. Your factory was completely demolished. And it was around the same time, well, I think just before that, Tarek, that you and your family fled to Lebanon. And under very harrowing circumstances, and your sisters went to Saudi Arabia and Turkey. You were split up. And the 60 people
That's right.
who lived peacefully together were scattered to the four winds, and you made a very harrowing escape into Lebanon and lived as refugees, not in the camp, but as refugees, very displaced for about 3 years. And during that time, your medical training really came in to help others. How did you put that into operation when you're in Lebanon?
I realized that, if you are in a position of supporting and helping others, then why not? If you are leaving your homeland, that doesn't mean that you're losing your skills and your talents. That doesn't mean that you're empty. It still means that you have brought all of this knowledge and talent and experiences and journeys with you. And I think, I made home of what my experiences were. I made home of the people that I have met along the journey. I made home of what I was able to accomplish, even helping those others. And did not want to play the role of a victim.
No.
In life, you can be a victim or you can be a victor. You can decide who you want to be. And that's why I volunteered with the UN. I remember really, really excellent, communications that I had with highest senior management team at the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the UNHCR at that time in Lebanon, helping other refugees who were coming into the country, into Lebanon, and setting their lives for years and years. And I think that was very rewarding. It was really helpful for me to understand that, hey, I'm still alive and I'm not counting down to death anymore in the war that I did not want to become part of. Why shouldn't I be helping other Syrians who are just fleeing their homes, all these children who are outside of schools, all of these women who just fled the country while their husbands were stuck back there, all of these families that they were scattered, and my family included. My family was scattered during the war. Now they are in 27 countries around the globe. Imagine in 10 years. They got scattered. My family is everywhere right now. They are in Germany, they are in Sweden, they are in Spain, they're in Italy, they are in Brazil, they are in Japan, Malaysia, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan. They are everywhere. You know what the war can cause? It's all of this devastation and family separation. So I think, I just use that as a power to I think, be compassionate to others and use my skills as a way to help and support. I think that's a noble cause, and it was very rewarding, and it taught me a lot of what is the meaning of life. It's not about being successful. It's really helping and lifting others to success.
And that spirit of kindness and generosity, which your family completely embraced, was also the bridge with the kindness that flowed out of Antigonish, Nova Scotia, of all places on the planet, who heard about the Syrian families that were looking to relocate here in Canada.
That's right.
Prime Minister Trudeau had just come into power, and he was opening the doors for many refugees to come. So this lovely lady in Antigonish started a potluck to invite the community to talk about what can we do. And that potluck turned into just the floodgates of generosity with that small community to sponsor your family to come to Canada. And you thought you might end up in Montreal, Vancouver, or Toronto.
That's
And
right.
then,
I call them the MTV, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you no sooner arrived in Pearson Airport when they told you, oh no, you're going to Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and you had to Google that and find out where that was.
That's right. I can't forget that.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And those lovely people were there to pick you up at the Halifax airport. It was another 2-hour drive in a blizzard. You'd never seen snow to get to their home. And the next morning, Tarek, you were out there shoveling snow with your first parka on. What kind of shock was that to your system?
Oh my God, that was a huge transition. It was a shock on many levels. You know, before the cultural shock kicks in, after like 1 month or 2 months of realizing what am I doing here, you know, and what is my life like now? What are my goals? I think it was a shock on many levels. But you know what shocked me the most is how kind people are, how friendly people are in the Maritimes, how supportive people are in the Maritimes for newcomers and immigrants. I was not shocked like what you know the stereotype, the traditional meaning of you know, arriving in a new place and you know, finding yourself isolated or lonely or etc. I found myself belonging to a big family of 4,000 people right away. The next day I was walking on Main Street in town. People were coming and shaking my hands, and I felt I am Leonardo DiCaprio walking on the streets. People were coming and shaking my hands and asking me if I needed anything. The town has supported us in a way that restored our faith in humanity. And I think that's why we have been thinking about ways to give back, you know, to pay it forward. I think it was, imagine losing everything and counting down to death as a family, and then having that light at the end of the tunnel and seeing people on the other side of the planet helping you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you have faith?
That beacon of hope that was reaching out to you and your family made all the difference in your world there.
It's a second chance of life. Second chance
Yeah.
of life.
Let's fast forward a bit now. Your parents and sisters are all over here as well, and your father is getting restless. He was a man with much purpose and a business entrepreneur. He's sitting in the small town Antigonish, getting very, very restless. End up building a shed next to the house that you were in to start your first attempt at a chocolate factory there.
That's
And
right.
he stride, didn't he? It took off from there.
It was joy. It was just pure joy, to be honest. Like these first few days of starting first in the home kitchen. We did not go right away to that shed, by the way. We were working in the home kitchen. We went down to the basement when there was like a little tiny room that could, you know, barely fit me and my dad at that time. And we were making chocolate for farmers market. And we're like, we need more chocolate, Dad, because we're selling out like the first 10 minutes. And then the community stepped in, gave us $12,000 interest-free loan for 6 months. We were able to pay it back within a few weeks. And it was just really remarkable how, you know, the support and the entire journey just felt like a dream. Every single day we were waking up and finding new people that we were calling friends and family. They were coming and supporting us, business counselors, carpenters, electricians, you know, whoever can bring us something that helped us, you know, and a small machine of chocolate, any tools, you know, boxes to store the chocolate, and guide us to suppliers out there in Quebec and in Ontario. And I think it was a huge sign for us that there is way to build a bigger company. There is way for us in belonging here. There is a way for us to rebuild what was lost in Syria. All the 30 years of hard work that was lost in a bombing, in an airstrike, can be rebuilt here in Canada because immigrants are welcomed and motivated to translate their skills and experiences into an opportunity for a life here. Yeah. And I think we came here with those skills and talents that certainly took off from selling at farmers market now to become one of the national distributors of chocolate across the country.
It's wonderful. And I just add too, just as you were in the first few weeks of getting restarted with your chocolate factory, the fires in Fort McMurray came, and those people were absolutely devastated. They had to flee from their homes from the destruction from that. And you, and your family stepped up immediately and were sending aid and support and the fundraising that you did immediately for those that needed help in our country. And your family has been doing that ever since. The causes that you support, the diversity that you support, Indigenous causes, mothers of all types, gay mothers, grandmothers, you name it. The children and security through the Romeo Dallaire Foundation. When you go on your website, there's just an amazing array of causes that you're supporting. You are giving back, giving back, giving back.
That's
And
right.
it's a tremendous example of you as a new Canadian, how you have just blessed our country and improved our lives here, Tarek, you and your family. Thank you for that. And now the storms are raging in Nova Scotia. And tell us, how is your family doing? Because Antigonish, they're on the Cape Breton end of Nova Scotia, was one of the worst hit areas with this storm, which is arguably one of the worst hurricanes ever to hit Canada. And how is everybody doing? And how is your factory?
My family and the factory is safe. Thank you for asking, Elizabeth. It was a pretty Antigonish was hit really hard by Hurricane Fiona, and many people lost power. A lot of our staff lost their homes. That they were demolished by the wind. They got flooded. They had to be evacuated. Trees fell on cars. My family lost multiple cars actually because of the trees that just fell on them. But you know what? We are thankful. We are really grateful that it always could be worse. Between surviving multiple pandemics and hurricanes and all of these crises since coming to Canada, this is a piece of cake compared to what you had to go through. To be honest, we will take a million hurricanes and pandemics over living in one war for one day, because that's really living through hell. And the ability for us to rebuild after a pandemic, after a hurricane, with a sense of community, with a sense of family, with a sense of support, with a sense of identity now, as we are all Canadian citizens, and we know that in time of test, family is best. We know that after Hurricane Fiona, we saw people just calling us from all across the country. You cannot imagine. My phone did not stop ringing. People were just calling me from BC, from Alberta, from all over, and even all around the world. They were checking in on us. So we're really grateful for all the love and support. And that's why we also decided that, we are safe, but our neighbors we're not. We are okay, but our neighbors are not. And that's why we released a new campaign with the Red Cross to support the efforts to rebuild and help families who are just impacted the most during the hurricane and after.
And the Peace by Chocolate bars that you made for the East Coast are just so clever and funny. And I'm sure when you were learning the language here in Canada and on the East Coast,
that's right.
You learned a lot of those phrases like
so much.
What do you at?
What do you at? Yes, that's the first. Actually, the what do you at was the first thing I heard after arriving in Antigonish after I bought my first Canadian phone number. And the Newfoundland woman called me on my cell phone by mistake, but it was the wrong number. And she was like, "What do you at?" And then actually that was the time when I was introduced to the Atlantic Canada slangs, and I really wanted to use these phrases to celebrate who we are. We are friendly, lovely, and nice people for sure.
It's so fun to have those bars. Who's your fodder? Like,
That's right.
So these are on chocolate that you've been selling, and they've sold out. You've raised tens of thousands of dollars, which is going to be matched by the Canadian government. All of that, 100% of all of that has gone to Hurricane Fiona relief through the Red Cross Relief Fund. So thank you so much for, again, giving back, giving back, giving back. Tell us a bit about the Peace on Earth Society that you've also founded, Tarek.
Absolutely. So the Peace on Earth Society is kind of the social wing of the business. We wanted an umbrella to cover all of our initiatives and our partnerships. The idea came after I arrived here, and I had a discussion with an Indigenous elder, a Mi'kmaq elder in Nova Scotia. And I was like, in Canada, we are not perfect, and we still have a lot of work to do in terms of reconciliation, supporting and understanding Indigenous culture and activities. And I was like, as a newcomer, I have a responsibility. I need to learn about Indigenous culture. I need to learn about and support Indigenous people. A lot of Indigenous reserves across the country still do not have drinkable water, do not have safe water to drink. And I think that that's still hurtful. And a lot of newcomers as well, they don't get, they don't get indigenized in a way, like they don't get the knowledge about really knowing what the culture of indigenous people is and the tradition and all the struggles of residential school over history and all of this. So that's why the first chocolate bar we created was called Wanta Udi, which means peace in Mi'kmaq, because we said there's nothing nobler with the mother tongue of the land that we're on and the land that we call home, which is Mi'kmaqi. There's a NITAB series where we donate, the proceeds to Bagnikik, indigenous reserve next to Antigonish, indigenous community next to Antigonish, and many more, platforms to support mental health, to support Trans-Canada Trail across the country. We did a Peace for Ukraine campaign that raised over $100,000 actually earlier this year to support the humanitarian crisis appeal with the Red Cross, and we have many more. I wish I can remember the tens of partnerships that we have done before, but one of them that was really meaningful to me was for support refugees. We have a refugee hub bar where we donate to support refugees in their settlement, and we have a new partnership as well with WUSC. WUSC is the organization that is the reason why my family ended up in Canada. WUSC is the World University Services of Canada. Great. So I mean, it's all about the sense of understanding the purpose of taking the dollar sign glasses as a corporation and putting on the selfless glasses and understanding the world differently and making sure that you're contributing to causes that matter to humanity, matters to your community, because the purpose of a business right now is not to maximize the profit of shareholders. The purpose of a business is to be there for community and serve them at the time of most needed. So we are so proud right now that we have over 10 partnerships that they are active with many organizations that are doing incredible work to support peace across Canada and across the world, and many more are coming. But there's one particular announcement that we were proud of earlier in September on the International Day of Peace. We said we were going to make 100 peace ambassadors by 2024 with IEP, the Institute for Economics and Peace, because we feel like as Canadians, we take peace for granted. Yeah. At the same time, we need to export a little bit of our knowledge and experiences in peacekeeping to areas of conflict around the world. So that's really something we are very proud of.
Wonderful. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I don't know where you get all this energy. It must be from the amazing chocolate.
That's right, actually, yeah.
I know I've certainly enjoyed some.
Our slogan is "One piece won't hurt," Elizabeth.
One piece won't hurt, exactly.
Right.
And Tarek, do you have a favorite chocolate?
That's a hard question, actually. That's a very hard question. I have to be diplomatic there, but there is a chocolate bar that we created called Gold Bar. Take what you need and share the rest. And that is a caramelized chocolate with confections and Nova Scotian sea salt on top. So I really encourage everyone who did not try it to take a bite and really enjoy some peaceful taste. But this is our bestseller right now, and I'm very proud of that creation. But at the end of the day, it's like asking a dad who's your favorite kid. I cannot be biased there. All of the products really are made with love and happiness, and that's really what matters. When I see just someone eat the chocolate bars and really enjoy it and share it with their families, there's so much happiness that comes to my heart.
Have you ever thought, since you are there on the East Coast in Antigonish, lobster chocolate?
I was just thinking about that. I was just actually talking about that in a new Atlantic Canada chocolate collection coming. We have our classic chocolates and bars and boxes and everything, and then we have a new line called the Artisan line, which is little pieces of jewelry. It's really takes our staff a long time to make even a few boxes of those. So the Atlantic series, including some Nova Scotian and other maritime themed chocolate, is coming hopefully into our line within 2023 and 2024. We have to be proud of where we are, and my family now proudly belong to Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada, and we want to make sure we represent the culture and the province that we are on. Within all of our, within all my public speaking and public speaker travel around the world and tell everyone about our story, within our book, within our podcast, within our movie. We have a voice, we have a platform, and we want to make use of that to support our area. And that's why we're so proud that after we launched the campaign to support the Atlantic Canada after Fiona, we received tons of support from our audience across the country. And that's why we always felt that becoming Canadian citizens was the biggest achievement for our life and the biggest honor for our lives, because it means that we are living in a country of peace, acceptance, diversity, inclusion, freedom, and human rights. And we are so proud, to be there for our neighbors and our bigger family.
Wonderful. You're just a wonderful addition to our country, and we're just so proud to have you here. And also the refugee mentorship program that you're also undertaking to help other refugees who are coming in build business for themselves. That's a tremendous boost too for those coming in who are displaced. They need purpose. They need purpose to go on. And you can't, learn or live or love unless there is peace in the world. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, and that is so important, because I know a lot of refugees, they feel like they are stuck. Being stuck is not a setback; it's an opportunity to grow and reflect. And we wanted to give refugees a kind of a little bit of feedback of how our life was when we arrived here. What challenges did we have to face, and how they can start their own businesses or even find jobs? Because a lot of refugees, they apply to jobs, but they get discriminated against because they don't have the Canadian experience. And we wanted to make sure that people are comfortable applying to jobs that we offer across the country, because everyone is welcome, regardless whether you have the experience or not. It doesn't really matter. We all have to start somewhere. So why not give people a chance, to start in our organizations and give them, a job that can be meaningful to them, and really teach them a little bit of our experience and give them some tips. And when we came to Canada, we were like newborn babies. We didn't know anything, and now we have learned a lot over the past few years. Still a lot for us to learn, but I think it's really important to share. But at the end of the day, we keep telling our neighbors and our friends and refugees that we are hiring, life is joyful when we look at it from different lens. And no one can go back and start a new beginning, but everyone can start today and make a new ending to their journey.
Thank you, Tarek. And on that note, I'm afraid it's time that we have to close. Any quick closing comments from you before we wrap this up today?
It is an honor to have a voice in the platform, and I truly appreciate all the support that we have received since we came to Canada. I hope that we honor one another, build this country together, and inspire the world to be better. Again, appreciate the opportunity to join you today, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Tarek, CEO, founder, and enthusiastic ambassador for Peace and Peace by Chocolate. Please go onto their website, learn a little bit more about it, read the tremendous book, and let's get behind this cause and help our friends and neighbors in Nova Scotia and the Maritimes with some disaster aid with Fiona. Thanks so much, Tarek. All the best to you and your family, and thank you for showing us that kindness begets kindness, peace begets peace. We all need more of that. See you next time.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.